Today is Wednesday, March 13th, 2024. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is our recap of Survivor 46, Week 3.
This episode's titled Wackadoodles Win. That was spoken by Q.
And he was wrong. They didn't win this week anyway.
Well,
though I'm
we'll
assuming
talk more
they're
about
wackadoodles.
that. We'll talk more about that as we proceed through the recap.
All righty.
That's totally something I would say if I were out there.
Yeah.
Wackadoodles. Previously on Survivor, Siga makes fire. Celebrate good times. Come on. Randon finds a beware advantage and he shares it with Venus. Kenzie makes a fake idol for Jess. Q is faced with a tough decision, Jess or Kenzie. How do you decide who to go after? Bhanu melts down in tribal council. Jess is out. And Bhanu feels like he's the fool. Probably the most correct thing that he's onto the whole time he's been out there. Okay, after Tribal Council Night 5.
Bhanu's still confused. Imagine that.
Yeah, Q says, that was a fun tribal. And Bhanu asks, where did that idol come from? Tiffany said, well, it was all in your best interest not to tell you.
Yep, we didn't want you telling.
And then, I think it was Q had to explain to him that Jess wrote his name down.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He's like, but she said everyone was voting for me.
Yeah.
It's like, duh. That's what they told her so that she wouldn't play her shot in the dark.
And he tells us he's glad he's there on the island, but he does recognize that he is in a distant fourth place in their tribe.
And he seems to still be pondering over, but Jess told me she was my best friend, and then she voted me.
Q's trying to give him a lesson there. Look, it's really critical to watch what we say and not air out our laundry.
And what does he say? But I'm not an actor. I can't do that.
I don't know. He seems like an actor, like a really bad actor. Tiff tells him, look, if you can't lie, shut up.
Yeah. I'm not sure he's ever really watched the game.
I'll go ahead and say he's watched it, and it's in a superficial way that reinforced whatever his thought processes were. And because nothing's ever been challenged before from his couch at home, and he truly doesn't have any perspective on it.
And he's not really there for the money. Doesn't need to want the money. He's there for millions of people to love him.
We're going to circle back and forth on this one. This is interesting because I'm really curious how many people believe that what he's saying on the surface versus does he actually have some ulterior motives?
Okay, here's what tickled me.
What's that?
Is he approaches Kenzie, he wants to work with her, and she's like, okay, I'm willing to listen to you. What's your plan? And he's like,
nothing.
I don't have a plan.
Nada. Then you got nothing.
Well, then what are you going to tell me? He wanted her to tell him what the plan was.
So it is taking a toll on them. It's taking a big toll on him, according to what he tells us. They're sleeping under that overhang because no machete, no pot, no flint. They're struggling. Or no, they do have a machete, don't they?
Yes, they have a machete in a pot. They just
did
don't
get
have
that.
flint.
Yeah, no flint. Okay, so for some reason their shelter is not sufficient, so they're sleeping under an overhang. I've done that before. It's rough, but you look at the impact it has on him and you look at the impact it has on them. And again, yes, there's a distinct difference between these four players, and there's two levels. There's the level Bhanu's in, which is the fail level on every facet, and then there's the endure and adapt level that Kenzie, Q, and Tiffany are on.
Okay, and he's being all sweet, and he's this, and he's humbled, and he's, blah, blah, blah. And then the minute she doesn't take him...
rescue him.
under her wing and
Right.
tell him a plan and what to do and rescue him, then she's the terrible mermaid on top and then the dragon behind.
Which would be a mer-dragon, but a mermaid on top
Okay,
is a
whatever.
woman. So he can't even do that right.
I caught his drift, though.
Yeah, you get the sense of what he's shooting for and that he's trying to be super dramatic about the whole thing and make TV moments and make Jeff proud, which is really his driving force. Jeff can do no wrong. I'm here to fulfill Jeff's objectives.
Well, you'd do better off to have a few of your own and try to fulfill those. But, okay. Then he talks to Q, or really Q talks to him, and Q tells him, look, I want to work with you. I want you to stay.
I need loyal people I can coach. And you're my Philip.
You're my Philip.
How about that? Now,
Well,
does he know enough to
no.
realize that is
No.
a potential diss?
I say no.
No.
That he doesn't know enough to know that he's anything about what Q is really saying, because he still doesn't know what's happening when Q walks away.
Yeah,
And what I wrote, he shouldn't be out there.
definitely not.
He's so out of his depth. He's so confused. And even when they explain it, he doesn't know what they're saying. He doesn't comprehend it.
Nope.
And I thought,
What's his
he
takeaway?
does
The
not
girls-
know the game.
The girls will get me. How will I know? Even if Q's looking out for me, how will I know that I'm okay? Those girls are going to get me.
Whoever knows if they're okay from minute to minute in Survivor.
No, but he doesn't appear to be equipped.
Okay.
You know, I can remember when we were watching Redemption Island, and I thought, this Philip guy is a complete waste of space. And then as the season went on, I thought, what if he's going to come out and say, hey, I did that all as an act. This was how I saw a path for me to get here to the end. And I thought, that I could respect. Of course, it doesn't play out that way. Just as we've seen other people, very high profile survivors in the past who've made a choice for how they're going to play through the season, and then they don't step up and own it at the end, which would make more sense. I'm thinking of one individual in particular.
Yep.
I can remember calling him out on the red carpet about it, but I don't think it registered for him. Anyway, a part of me thinks, wow, this could be a way for him to get through, but he's so pathetic and pitiful in the context of the game. Kenzie gave him the time and tried. Q gives him the time here and tries. We're going to see Tiffany do some too, and there's just nothing there. He's just he's a sad sack. He's Eeyore from Winnie the
and
Pooh.
Why doesn't he even feel a little bit bad because he threw him under the bus, and especially Kenzie?
Right.
I mean, totally. He just spilled the beans.
And she called him on it in the moment.
Who did?
Oh, no, that was Jess. My bad. Sorry. I was thinking about tribal council. And I was like, wait a second. That was Jess that called Kenzie out.
there
That
was
wasn't
no
Bhanu.
trouble, Kenzie. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move past Yanu
Yes.
We
'cause
go to
Bhanu's
Siga.
frustrating.
next.
Yep.
And it's a flashback. 4
So,
days.
Yeah. So day 2, because this was day 6.
It's like, really?
So we're going
You
back to day
haven't
2
shown
with
us
them.
that? And we've been worrying
4
about our
hours.
girl, too.
Yeah, 4 hours, and they couldn't fit this in. But okay. Well, here we are.
Okay, everyone's looking for an idol.
They do
It's a
group idol hunts.
Yeah, a group hunt, which they all are just, that's just a fake out because everybody wants it for themselves. You
Sure.
know they do.
Well,
Charlie said
Yeah.
he did, and
Yeah.
obviously Jim did. So,
yeah, she's good. She spots
was
the
good.
unique tree. She's like, there's something different about this tree. We need to look closer. She
and
takes Charlie over
she
with her.
really kept, looking at it and looking at it and looking at it and looking at it till she finally found it.
Yeah.
Charlie was all around it, but he was kind of focusing just on that one side or something. Not sure what he was doing over there so long, but anyway, she found it. Yay!
Yeah, they've told us, and we've seen it demonstrated before. It's easy to get fixated on one area. Maybe you're looking low, but you needed to be looking high, or you needed to be looking in your eye line. And they do move it around purposefully in different areas.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so
But how cool! Nobody saw her.
Yes, he was like, what, 5 feet away? 3 feet
He
away?
wasn't very far away.
She was able to snatch it and hide it, and Charlie was none the wiser. So she found a beware advantage.
I hardly saw it before it was in her pants. She was just like, shh.
Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. Okay,
That
but
was
she
good.
can't do anything. She's got to wait until she can be alone later. So she reads it. She knows she's going to have to go back. So
I really liked it how she was like, oh, my heart was pounding, and
Yeah.
I knew I had to calm down. I had to calm down and act normal.
Can't let on. Can't be squeaking about it.
And Charlie was just talking about that, how
Yeah.
he'd have to try to keep his cool if he
Yeah.
found it.
That must have been quite the night tonight, him
He was-
watching her.
Yeah, he was talking about that while she was actually doing it.
Yeah.
So that got him tonight, sitting
So
at
she
home watching.
waits until night, and she hears Tim start snoring. That gives her some audible cover, and she sneaks out of the shelter to go back to the tree and dig.
Well, number one, I thought that was pretty brave of her to go back out there. I don't know how far away it was, but it's got to be pitch black out there.
Can't be pitch black. There must have been some moonlight for her
Well,
to see by.
Yeah, but
because
that's not much.
the camera view that we get is with an infrared.
Yes.
So they're not necessarily giving anything away. So she made her way back over to the tree and digs around, and she finds the locked box that we've seen at the 2 other tribes, and she takes it with her. And I think that's because she didn't really have enough light to read.
That's what I told you.
I think you
Yes,
were
I
right
did.
when you said, oh, she read that the next day.
Yeah, I said, because you were like, how can she read that? And I'm like, she's not reading that. She, that's why she's taking it. She can't read anything out there. She can
Yeah.
probably
So she-
barely see her hand in
She
front
hid
of
the
her.
box in a different area. Interesting
Yeah,
to see
and
if it's
that
going to be
didn't look.
safe.
Yeah.
It was not buried. She just
Stuck
stuffed it.
some leaves in front of it.
and covered it up a little with debris.
Well, hopefully she'll go back when it gets light and do something else with it.
So she is now without a vote, just like Randon.
And that was it's the same format beware advantage that the others found. So
Yep.
nothing new there.
She'll get another clue when they lose a challenge.
All right, over to Nami. Hunter is building himself a portable bed.
Liz was there
How
with
cool.
the zinger, Survivor MacGyver, Hunter making it happen.
Yep, Venus tells us he can do or build anything they need, and but he doesn't talk strategy. Of course, he doesn't need to right now.
Yeah, that was Liz. Venus
Oh,
comes
yeah.
a little after. But yeah. So then we get some personal confessional time with Hunter, talking about how he made his decision, how he ended up being a teacher.
His story, yeah.
Yeah. Stuff that we had seen in the preseason Jabbok research, reading their preseason interviews
that
and bio.
He's done puzzles and built challenges and all that good stuff.
They showed his house full of Survivor challenges that he had made. That was cool. And then next we get Venus talking about how he's a sweet dude, but it's all a facade as far
And
as
she
she's
can
concerned.
see through it.
She has
And
spotted
he's
him.
a big buff guy, but him and Tevin are running this game, and Randon's like,
Okay.
I'm not seeing that.
Right. Can you explain that? Can you give me a little bit to work with? She said, well, you'd have to be blind not to see it.
Yeah, instead of just sharing her perspective and trying to get him to think that's not a way to do
No,
that.
that was a really jerk move on her part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then she says he's got links to these people. We got Liz before saying he doesn't talk much.
Yeah.
And they show him out fishing and being a provider and all that. But Venus tells us that, no, he's so well connected to everyone, which I would have thought she was describing Tevin and not Hunter. The way
Yeah.
it's been presented to us in the edit, Hunter went to Tevin. Tevin's the one that's got all the connections. So
Well,
even Venus sought out Tevin to
And-
try to make some inroads.
She thinks Hunter has Tevin in his pocket, but
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like you said, the other way around.
Given what we got to see, yeah. She
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily know
So-
that, but she tells
But
us she's going
anyway,
to break those chains.
She wants him out. Mm-hmm. Okay. Tevin is talking to Randon.
Yep,
and-
Tevin's making a fish
yeah.
trap.
Yeah.
It's one of those fish traps that we see people construct, and rarely do they end up working, but
Yeah,
it's something
that's
to
true.
do.
Well, and it's worth a try.
It has to be just the right conditions for those kind of things to work.
So Brandon tells us he's not feeling very well. He's got tingling in his leg, and around his arm, and his hand is numb. And that was my first thought. Oh, pinched nerve.
And he can't grip.
Well, pinched nerve.
Yeah.
Been there, done that. It doesn't feel good either.
And he's telling us he's not going to be able to do the challenge today.
Yep, and he's really worried about being a liability because he knows that can.
If he's not delivering in the
cause you
challenges,
yep.
then they might lose interest in
Or
it.
in anything else. If he can't do anything around camp and he can't help in the challenges and they lose, then he's an easy vote out.
Yep. Speaking of challenges, time for an immunity reward challenge. So they start from platforms out in the water. They got to jump into the water, and then they got to climb up on a platform and go up and over crates, and then they got to get over this rolling barrel obstacle, and then they got to dig up some sandbags and then toss those sandbags up on these elevated platforms that are all at different heights.
And before we get any more into the challenge, Jeff told everybody Jess was voted out. And Tevin said, I told you it's going to be her.
I didn't even see that. Didn't register.
Huh.
I don't know that it's significant. But
No, but I thought it was, he had that pegged.
Yeah, yep, good example of his perception, I guess. So the reward is a massive toolkit and a large tarp. This is just following a pattern in the 40s here. It's kind of how it goes.
Yep.
You get the fishing gear, then you get the toolkit and the tarp, and then the second place gets a smaller toolkit and a smaller tarp.
So you can improve your conditions.
Siga and Nami have to sit 2 players out. Moriah and Jim set out for Siga.
No, Maria.
Maria. Yes, I wrote it wrong. Thanks. Maria and Jim sit out, and then on Nami, Randon with his bum arm and Soda sit out. And so they're going to have to be active in whatever the next challenge is, assuming they're still in the game.
All right. They jump in the water. Q does a nice belly flop. And Tiffany went in, it looked like knees first or something.
Yeah.
So those were kind of
Everyone's kind of
awkward
in the water
entrances.
together on this
Yep,
challenge.
yep.
So the next goal is to get up on the platform and then climb over 2 big crates.
They seem to do that pretty well.
Nami struggled at the crates, though. Jeff called him out for that. So, yeah, Siga did and Yanu did, but Nami was having some trouble getting up those crates for some reason. And then maybe it was the height, too, jumping off the top
Well, it
crate.
could have been Liz, too, because she's short.
Maybe. Yep, could be.
But anyway, Tim was, I think, one of the first ones on the barrel, and he's like, push it over, push it over.
Yeah, so it took some teamwork to get over the barrel.
Those look pretty tough to do.
Yeah, it looked like the taller guys were able to stand up in the water, so then you can give people a leg up that way. You know, make a step with your hands or however you're going to do it. And then once you get one person over, they can help pull from the other side if they're tall enough.
Yeah. Well, that's where they really had to work together. And Siga was the first ones over, and then Yanu was second. And Nami, at that point, had nobody over.
Right. They were struggling with that barrel a lot.
Yep. They were way behind. Hunter pushed Tevin over the roller. That was really smart of him. He pushed Tevin and grabbed a hold of his
Gave him a boost.
ankles, and it pulled him right on over.
Yeah, that was great.
'Cause
2
he
for
was the
1.
last
Folks
one.
called it. Yeah.
It's like, ooh, that was
Very clever.
that reminded me
Very
of something
MacGyver.
Ozzy would do.
Yeah, definitely. Nice
And,
play.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
You could imagine Hunter watching that with his students and them going wild when he did that, huh?
Oh, yeah. And Siga was the first to throw the bags after they got them dug up, and Yanu was second on that as well. And Nami finally gets the bags, but nobody's gotten a bag up on
No.
landed one.
Yeah, they show up late, and then Hunter is actually the
Just
first person
killed
to
it.
land a bag. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
not only one, but 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, and then
And 5.
he gets his 4th, and Tiff finally gets one for Yanu, and then Hunter closes it out with the 5th one. Man, he just crushed it.
Good on him. And I thought I had this whole scenario in my head about how they had said in the on the TV caption that someone was going to try to throw themselves under the bus for not doing well at the challenge. And I thought, oh, I bet that's Hunter. because he's supposed to be, strong and so good. And
He did,
that's
came out
why
and crushed
I
it.
chose them to lose.
Strong and so good, huh? Yeah.
So
Yep.
my scenario did not play out
Our
that way.
hopes were dashed at that point.
Yeah, because we both chose the same team and the same person to go home. We made our picks individually. We didn't.
Yeah, but we were talking a lot, so I
Yeah, we
wasn't surprised
talked
when
about
that
it.
happened.
I was
This time.
because I was like, really? You went with that too? I don't know that you went with the same conclusion that I did because
No, I
it
didn't.
said that.
I had a different story in mind, but yeah.
So we both had different stories.
we were
and
bummed.
They were both wrong.
So now it's a face off between Siga and Yanu to see who can get there. We had some really good back and forth.
Yep.
Charlie was doing really well for Siga once they finally got going, and then Q stepped up, and they tied it too. And then Q ended up, when he was throwing for his third, Charlie got his third. Q throws for his third, and not only does he not get his third, he knocked off his second. So Tiffany came back in and got a second.
Well, and at this point, I'm like, oh, we were wrong. Siga's gonna lose.
And
I
now
was just
our
sure-
USB doesn't have a vote, and she could end up going.
Yeah. Well, and I was so sure that this would be the week that Yanu would pull it together and not
And it was
lose.
close. So Charlie and Tiffany started closing the gap and got the third back on for
Charlie
them. And
got
then Q stepped up and got the fourth. And now it's Q and Charlie and Q and Charlie. And Charlie nailed it. Yeah. So Yanu loses again.
That really was the closest I think they've come. They could have won. They just didn't again.
Yeah. Q did not deliver
I was like, man,
when he needed to.
that would have been an easy vote. And I was so sure they weren't going to lose. I put Kenzie and Bhanu safe. I thought, oh man, I really messed up.
Okay, so Nami won, so now they get to choose 3 people to go on a journey. And from their own tribe, they select Liz, and then it was almost like Liz selected.
Liz.
She
and
called
she-
out loud. Yeah, so Liz is going for Nami, and then they chose Ben from Siga and Bhanu from Yanu.
Well, they
which Tiffany
pegged that right.
Tiffany was not happy about. She said that was the worst possible person to go
For them,
for her.
but
Yeah.
not for Nami.
Yeah.
I think Liz called that perfectly. And Ben's a talker too, but we didn't hear him give them anything. And certainly Liz. And I don't think Bhanu ever thought to try to pump them for information. It was just all about me. Well, of course.
Just
they
before
wanna
we
hear
get to the
what I
journey,
said.
though, they did a surprise visit at Yanu camp, and we see Kenzie saying, "Man, we got the bad karma here," and Bhanu going on the journey is an example of our typical bad luck,
Yep.
our karmic curse. She called it, and they were just sure that Bhanu was over there in the
Spilling
journey,
everything.
spilling the tea.
And he was.
Yes.
And then Q starts beating himself up because he choked at the end and he feels horrible. It's all his fault.
Burdette fumbles.
I can do better. Yeah, brought up all his high school failures and issues.
Kenzie and Tiffany weren't having any of it. Q the martyr, and Tiffany's like, "Shut up,
Yeah, shut
you
up.
big dummy."
I'm not voting you out.
All right.
Forget it.
Quit being silly.
You know I'm not going to do that. So
Not in my best interest.
that's not my plan.
Right.
So
Okay, on to the journey. Liz is excited. She did manage to not fall out of the boat, but she came close. And then she offers a helping hand to Ben and Bhanu.
well, and Ben starts right off.
What's
giving
going on, Bhanu?
Encouragement
Yeah.
to Bhanu and
We
talking
noticed
to
you
him.
putting in with all your heart. That was
Yes.
great. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
how they buttered him up.
You know, they thought about that on the boat all the way over there.
Yeah.
That we can get him to spill everything about their tribe.
Congratulations on making it to day 7, Bhanu.
And you're doing good. And the minute Liz said, you need a hug, he just like regurgitated everything.
Group hug. Yeah.
It was like, oh.
Tiffany and
goodness.
Q are so close, but Kenzie's a mastermind.
And these are people who care about me and want to hear everything I have to say.
I like Ben's response to the 2 blue rocks, 1 white rock thing. Does not rock. It wouldn't be the only time you would say it, but
Yep.
that was fun.
Anyway, Liz didn't seem terribly upset that she got the white rock because she got so much.
She didn't lose her
From
vote.
Bhanu.
Yeah. Yep. And what a horrible player. If you're them, you got to hope that he stays in the game somehow.
Yep. If they could save him, I'm sure they would.
Yeah.
Because he would.
What I was glad about that, though, was that they didn't just offer to give him the white rock. Liz didn't do that.
Yeah.
And then they didn't go out they offered verbal support, and they even gave a hug, like you said.
Yeah.
But they didn't do anything to really jeopardize their own games,
Right.
which, whiny crybaby Bhanu might have elicited that response from someone who wasn't as committed to the game, I guess, and committed to their own win.
So Bhanu's story is that Liz and Tiffany and Q are really tight, but they are just being puppets for mastermind Kenzie. He didn't call her the whole mermaid dragon thing, but she's the mastermind and the puppet master.
Not here to win $1 million. I'm here to win 1,000,000 hearts. Oh, great.
Well, you have ours.
You know what? Step out of the game. Mission accomplished. Move on.
And then they added that in when they were wishing him luck, and $1 million.
Ben said,
They played it well.
Did you get Ben's response? He said, that's kind of corny, but it's kind of like an Oasis line.
Yep. They say I'm a fool and I'm not strategic.
Wah, wah. Breakdown.
But I'm not here to win money. I want to win heart.
Nice cut to commercial, right? They draw the rocks, and then you got to wait.
Yeah.
Okay, so we come back from commercial and discover that Liz got the white rock. So back in the boat for Liz, and she doesn't lose her vote, but she doesn't get to play for an advantage
Well,
either.
she actually got the best deal of it all. She didn't lose her vote, and she got information for her tribe.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the best deal. Would be you got the information and you went in and you got an advantage.
Yes, but nobody got an advantage.
Well, you don't know that. You don't know what you're facing, and
No, you don't. But I'm saying, as it worked out, she got the best deal, in my opinion.
the challenge was that Ben and Bhanu were given 9 blocks, and they have to form those blocks in the shape of a cube. Otherwise, if they are not able to do it by the time the sand runs out of the timer, then they lose their vote.
Well, we know who aren't puzzle people.
I like that Ben invoked Van Halen and Nicolas Cage. But he said this cube puzzle also is one of the things that does not rock. Things that do not rock, these giant blocks. He made a verse out of it. Yeah. And what do we get from Bhanu? Hey, he panics, he cries, he fails. Yay. And Ben ends up failing too. So no votes for them in the next tribal council. And Bhanu tells us no vote, that means no shot in the dark. So I'm going home for sure.
All right, we flash over to Siga, and they are putting the tarp on their shelter. Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah. Well, I think it rained at least night 6? Night 5? Yeah, it must have rained given what Kenzie had said. So they're probably really going to enjoy having that tarp. And Ben and Liz return, and it's time to share some gossip.
Well, and they both share everything that Bhanu told them.
Yes.
Now, would it have been better for them to keep some of that information to themselves, you think?
No. And I was actually really impressed with Ben, with him coming up with the idea of, hey, it was the circles puzzle. I think I got it, but I won't know for sure until we get to tribal council and I find out I either got the advantage or
I lost my vote.
I lost my vote, but I won't know till then.
Yeah, that was a nice choice.
They didn't give us that anyone was suspicious of him.
No, but they'll find out when Bhanu, if he doesn't get voted out before they get to talk to other people than just on their tribe. He will tell it that, no, I lost my vote. So that might trip him up. I like that he did that, but it
tells
could
us
trip
that
him
he's
in
got
it.
some game for
Yes.
sure, right? I mean, they
Yes.
haven't been tested. They haven't had to do a whole lot, but I like
we hadn't
seeing
got
that.
to see much of their gameplay.
That seems to bode well for him, at least initially.
But I think that helps hold the target back.
And what did you think about how Bhanu handled it? Because he told a story, too.
Yeah.
They welcomed him back to Yanu, and Tiff said, "Oh, you're so sad." And he said, "Well, there was 3 rocks we had to draw, and there were 2 blue and 1
drew
white."
the white one.
Yeah. So
I just had to come on back.
no challenge for me. I got to keep my vote, okay. So they have some concern. He at least gets to use the potential that he's going to play a shot in the dark as a tool. So I was glad to see him do that. He's not completely incompetent in the context of the game.
Close.
Very
That
close.
no cigar.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I do like that he came up with that. That was smart.
But then he shares with Q, "Yeah, I lost my vote."
But I just wasn't paying much attention.
And then Q says, "This guy's got no understanding of the game."
Yeah, and if you tell Q, why bother to lie to the girls?
Well, I think he's still hoping Q can make something happen.
Well, and maybe he can. And
Well,
maybe he can't.
he did manage that conversation pretty well. He tells him, "I've got a different plan, and you're a liability, but I can help a liability, but I need
use a liability.
You're not a threat, and I need to get rid of the threats, and Kenzie's a threat, so I'll put in the time with you. We just got to get Tiff to flip."
Yep. Well, and he did a pretty good job.
Seemed to make a good case, according to what Tiffany told us.
Yeah, so I wish Jeff had stayed away just a little bit longer so we could have heard what they were about to say.
And then Tiffany tells us Q's good at making arguments. Okay, so Q's got game too. We already knew that, but it's good to see it working and see her giving it consideration.
Yeah, that he actually made some fair points. But I felt like she hadn't decided to vote against
No.
Kenzie because...
Well, she tells us her gut says that Bhanu needs to go.
Well, yeah. They can't trust him. I totally agree with that. But Q's got a point, too, because he can't trust her. But Tiffany can trust her more than Q can. So she feels like she'll be loyal to her. And so I don't think she was really ready, especially...
Kenzie needs Q. This is the thing he's not considering, I think. Yes, she's good, and she can make social connections better than Q can in a lot of cases, but they don't really know all the raw materials that they're working with yet, so he can't say that with complete confidence. And there's only 3 of them, assuming they were going to vote Bhanu off, 3 or 4 of them to work with, so they need each other. Well, he's too quick to get rid of her when she's such a social powerhouse, given the little bit that we know.
Yeah. Well, it's just that he's so certain she's not going to want to take him along.
Yeah, he's getting ahead of himself there. He needs to be looking at her as an asset the way he is the liability Bhanu. I mean, she's got more value to him overall.
Well, not if he truly believes that Bhanu will be loyal to him, and Kenzie won't.
He's so staggeringly incompetent that you couldn't count on him to deliver anything.
But Q thinks he can manage him.
Yeah.
Now,
well, I don't doubt that.
We'll see, because the what we saw on the next on, we'll see if he feels that way next week.
Yeah. Okay, let's bounce over to the Nami camp, because things are taking a tough turn here. We see Randon talking about how much he missed sitting out on that basically how bummed he was for having to sit out of that challenge. And then we see Probst and Dr. Will coming, which is not a good thing. And Dr. Will tells us that they initially thought it was that pinched nerve from sleeping on the hard bamboo, and...
Yeah, it sure sounded like it, but...
Yeah, because it could be something far worse, and Dr. Will had consulted with another doctor, and they were worried about the possibility of...
The pain up in the neck.
Yeah.
Because I get that kind of stuff, too.
A bulging disc. Yeah, you have problems with your C2.
Yeah, I have lots of bulging discs.
Yep. So they had decided Randon needed an MRI, and therefore he couldn't continue. They had one scheduled for him the next morning. I don't know. It seems, I know MRIs take a little while, right? Like 30, 40 minutes, depending on what the process is.
At least, yeah.
But
an hour.
Yeah, and they were probably going to have to do at least his torso, his head and his torso, to rule everything out. I don't know. It seems like you could do an MRI and not have to be completely out of the game.
if you have to be treated to that extent and go to a hospital or someplace that has that kind of, you get pulled. You don't get to do that and go back in the game.
But he could not have anything, and they could get that scan. Maybe it's for how long he would have to be away, because they've got to get back to
and where they have to take him.
Yeah, yep, that's true. Maybe that's more what it was, even though they do have the helicopter still, and they could get there reasonably quick. But, oh well, in any case, we learned that Randon's going out on a medical.
Yeah, that's too bad, and I did not...
Venus is heartbroken.
That coming.
She tells us she's heartbroken, or tells Probst that she's heartbroken for him, but secretly she's really more bummed that the advantage is leaving in Randon's pocket, she tells us, and now she's back to square zero. So it's really about what it means for Venus, and we get a nice exit from Randon. That's too bad.
Yeah,
he could have been a force in the game for sure.
Yeah, because it wasn't. He didn't need surgery, but he could have been that.
Don't know
that's
that at
a
the time.
Yeah, that's a big risk to take.
Cut back over to Yanu, and Bhanu's crying. Wow, go figure. Has that happened ever before in the 7 days? Tiffany asks him, why the cry? And she tells him, I haven't decided to write your name down. And hold up, she says, because she spots Probst before anyone else does. So Probst comes over and tells him Randon got pulled from the game. There's no tribal council. Yanu is spared. Cue the celebration. So Randon goes out on a medical, and you're the beneficiaries. Yay, things are turning your way. That seemed really odd. I mean, it's true, but Bhanu tells us his prayers have been answered. Thank you, God, for taking Randon out of the game.
He asked for a sign, and then, or Tiffany said she asked for a sign, and Jeff shows up 5 minutes later.
And Bhanu tells Jeff that he is his guru, and he gives his doesn't need the $1 million.
Jeff didn't
just
quite like
hearts.
the whole guru thing.
Yeah, he wasn't comfortable with it,
He's
for
like,
sure.
That
a
is
second chance, Q tells him.
Yeah.
Tiffany tells us they're just struggling because they've had so much loss.
Well, I was somewhat happy because I now knew I would not have a 3-point week.
Just like Venus.
Yeah.
To your benefit.
To my benefit, yes, because having both Kenzie and Bhanu say, I was pretty sure
Yanu
I'd
tribe
already accepted
declares this is their first victory. They relish where they are. Probst tells them, well, it could be your turning point.
Yeah, but it might not.
First time, no travel. Yeah.
I was so sure this week that they could rally that I
Me
don't
too.
know.
I really thought they were going to make it.
I know we both did. We just, yeah, they're gonna.
What did you think of the episode? How it flowed out? So we're back to 90 minutes now.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and yet it was emotionally up and down.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing.
No.
For watching a show.
I get frustrated watching someone like Bhanu on there. I struggle with that. The casting of the incompetent players. We had it last season to the point of even having 2 quitters. We got it this season with Jelinski, who folded like a piece of paper every time something got difficult. Jess, who was just a mess, and you got crybaby Bhanu, and he's desperate for God or Kenzie to save him. It's just someone needs to do the work for him.
Yeah.
And then you see the other players
in some of the challenges. You know, he got right out there, got up on that
the 2 blocks,
and just was jumping off there in no time.
Yeah.
I was like, look at Bhanu go. And so it's not like he can't do good things in challenges. He does.
In that small part of the game.
But he's just so emotionally all over the place. And, saying, I'm not here for the money. Well, why would you put yourself through that? Just, what is that?
I've always been frustrated by those people.
The need for admiration, or what is it you think you're going to gain?
Gotta think that's a part of it with him. Even the crying and the woe is me stuff and the whole Eeyore thing it seems like that's probably served him well to get attention in the past.
So that's winning over hearts? hearts.
Yes. Well, there's going to be an outpouring of positivity and people just, I love Bhanu, after this. I'm sure of it. I don't have that.
Really?
Yeah, I don't.
No, I don't have that.
He's not what I'm looking for in a
he's
Survivor
a nice
castaway.
guy. Go live your life, but I don't want to ever see you on Survivor again.
Yeah, unfortunately for us, he's still
want
there.
People who want to play.
Yes.
Who want that money.
To win. And
yes, at all costs, play the game.
at least show up knowing the game.
Win or lose, play it.
Contrast him with Kenzie. Contrast him with Q. With the amazing Tiffany, who's I think's probably the even bigger star on that tribe than Kenzie at this point. Even though Bhanu is in fear of Kenzie, he's made her into the enemy. She's such a mastermind.
And I thought she was fairly straight up with him.
Yes, she was. You got to bring something to the table.
Yeah.
She told him, and well, he doesn't like being called out like that and being laid bare.
Oh, no,
she just
he didn't like it
completely roasted him down
and
to his core.
It was all about how terrible she was.
Right, for not helping him.
Yeah.
Making his game possible.
Well, for not just doing it for him.
What I'm thankful for is I'm thankful for Kenzie and Q and Tiffany and the amazing play we saw this week from Ben and Jim. And, of course, Siga did great playing together.
Well, even Liz, she impressed me this week.
Hunter with that phenomenal play with Tevin going over the roller and then showing up and just dusting the sandbag toss, which he's done before. He had sandbags in his house at home that he had made for challenges for his kids to do.
Well, it showed.
Yeah, they just thundered back and won.
What I wanted to know is we did not see Randon ask Hunter, hey, can I lay on your bed and see if it helps me? I need something else. Maybe. And the doctors say, and that might be helpful. Would you mind?
Yeah.
Can I sleep on your bed or make me one?
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been something if Hunter had fixed him if it turned out that the portable bed that he had made for himself ended up fixing Randon. What a story that would have been, huh?
Well, and if they'd rolled up something, that they could put on the curvature of his neck might have helped too.
Yeah.
And
or just some good neck squeezes.
Yeah. Yep, you would have been good for that because I'm always like, honey.
Squeeze my neck, squeeze my shoulders. Yeah.
Yep, pretty much.
So a good episode. It's just frustrating to watch someone like Bhanu wreck their tribe, just basically be a detriment.
Yeah, I guess that put a little bit of a damper on the episode for me.
That he's still there?
Just a little. No, not so much that he's still there, but that enough. I just am enough with all the crying and the. I mean, I'm not against people crying and being genuine, but it almost feels like a ploy for attention.
Yeah, when it's that much. When it's just like your constant waterworks, or every turn it's waterworks, and it's all about why can't someone do this for me? He looks like someone who needs someone else to tie their shoes.
Yeah.
Right. My shoes are tied.
Have a plan before you go in to talk to somebody. Think about it a little bit on your own, by yourself.
Right.
Think it through before you open your mouth.
Okay.
But anyway, that's just me.
All right, so that's where we are. It's kind of
me.
Yeah, mixed bag with us.
Dragon lady.
Yeah. Okay, next time on Survivor, Moriah says, we found something mysterious. It's so mysterious that the producers there on Siga Beach have dropped a GoPro camera down in the hole to look back at them as they look down into the hole.
Mm-hmm. Well, Tim's definitely looking down there. And
yeah, it looks like at least
Charlie and maybe Maria.
Yeah, at least 5 of them are there. Yeah.
So I couldn't tell what anything was, and I'm not sure what they found.
It's probably nothing.
But it melted their brains.
Or it could have been one of those idols that some other players have hidden out there that never got dug up.
Oh, yeah. That's true. There could be things, that people forgot about and left out there.
Yeah. Well, I think who was it? Was it David from Millennials versus Gen X? Or somebody flew to Fiji and planted a fake idol. I think that's happened with more than one person where they've planted fake idols that didn't get recovered. So that they would potentially be able to leverage them in the game in the next season they were playing in.
Okay, back to next on. we're over at the Nami tribe, and Soda's telling Hunter, boy, we're all vibing because I love everyone.
And then I was shocked.
Yeah.
We get Tevin saying she's manipulating.
And Soda gotta go.
Gotta go.
Yeah, Soda gotta go.
Interesting.
Yeah, because we thought they were aligned and close, but...
And then here comes weepy face Bhanu over at the Yanu tribe telling Tiff and Q, I said something wrong.
I said something wrong.
Then they cut to Kenzie saying Bhanu's got to go. And then we found out that Randon's actually fine. Randon's actually fine. So his hand and arm was all okay.
They looked out for him.
Yeah. And he's ready to play again, he tells us.
Well, I don't blame him.
Yeah.
I mean, they did... I mean, I don't know if he how good he would be as a player because we haven't seen him do anything yet. They haven't had to go to tribal.
Yeah.
And so they've not been tested.
You know what? On the Bruce experience, I'm just going to pass.
Yeah.
I was done. Bruce was such a mess and a detriment to his tribe.
Yeah,
wrecked the season for so many people. And he had less time in than Randon. It's like, so I think the island was telling you it's not your thing, Randon. All right, how about a JSFL update? Because this is special circumstances with a medical evacuation.
15 people lost their USB 24. 4 people are tied in first place with 15 points. 70 people lost a safe point.
Because if you had Randon safe and he leaves on a medical, you lose a point.
You lose a point. And there were 22 of us that chose Brandon as their vote out, but because he was a medevac, no one got a vote off point this week.
Right. So the max you could get this week was 4 points, 4 safe points.
For the side challengers, tied for first with 13 points is Brandon, Chris, Lisa Ray, Parker, Robert, and Stacy. With 12 points, we have Drew and Jeremiah. And with 11 in the basement with Rebecca is Justin.
Oh, Justin made the jump. Downstairs, okay.
She is no longer alone.
No longer solo in the basement. Okay, so this week hurt for Justin.
Yes.
Points-wise.
And it would have hurt for me, too, if they'd gone to tribal.
Indeed. All right, anything else?
No, other than part of me did miss not having tribal.
Yeah, that's definitely always the case. That's
not my ideal way. I hate to see people medevac.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to finding out what you thought about that. Joanne and I have gone through, we've done the recap, the broad strokes about what happened in this episode. We want to check in with you, get your thoughts and predictions. The voicemail line's 206-350-1547, toll free 844-643-8737. You can record your own audio and attach it to an email or type up a quick text, email message and send it to us, and we'll read it in on your behalf. That email address is joannastacyshow@gmail.com. Feedback's due noon Pacific time on Saturday, and we ask that you keep it in that 3-minute range so that we can get everybody in there. So we're looking forward to hearing what you thought about the medical evacuation. What do you think about players like Bhanu? Do you think they should continue to cast? I mean, they have no idea how things are really going to turn out, but they had to have some inkling. Do you want to see more castaways like Philip and Bhanu in the future in Survivor? I'm curious what people think about that particular archetype. And how did your assessment of the castaways overall change with this week's gameplay? Who impressed you the most? Who do you think's playing the best? And who is in jeopardy of being voted out next? Kind of know how that one's going to play out, but maybe we'll get some more information from the ads and the press release from the next episode to give us a clue. Otherwise, that's probably going to be Bhanu overwhelmingly again. But we'll see. We're looking forward to hearing from you.
Not if Q has his way.
We're looking forward to hearing from you. Anything else?
I think we covered it all pretty good. So
have a good one.